Okay, today I want to talk about how to, if we have like a kind of, we're starting to develop a complicated scene here, and how to create new models in the scene here. Because if I started modeling, there would just be a lot of stuff in the way, and that can get a little bit cumbersome. So there's two things we can do here. We have option A and option B. So option A is that we can create a new blank Maya scene and then just model within that blank scene. And then once we're finished with that model, we just import it into the scene, and it's really simple. And the second way, the B option, is to use display layers. So I'm going to demonstrate both of those in this demonstration here. So let's start with A, and let's start a new scene. So I'll just go File, go to File, New Scene, save, and let's just say that I've made a very nice, model here. I've kind of, I'm not going to change much here, but just kind of we've made this model, and we can just pretend that this is a table or something that's a bit more elaborate, right? So the first thing I want to do is I just make sure to save this. So I just name this cylinder 1 for this. Just save it. So if it's a table, name it table, etc. Right? And so now that it's saved and kind of backed up, and one thing I should say here too is that this is all in the same project folder. So if I click on, let's see here, lost track of it. So this is my project. I have table demo, and then so I clicked on my project folder, and you should have all these folders here with source images and scenes. And so under scenes, you should have, this is where you should save this. Okay, so I'll just close all that out. And so I've saved this scene in there. And now, after I've saved it, I just want to go to Export Selection. So it's File, Export Selection. So we're going to export it from here, and then we're going to import it into the new piece, the new scene here. So Export Selection, and I'll name this. And so here we can, a Maya binary is actually, it works fine. Traditionally, with other pieces of software, you might use something called the Obj Export, which is another very standard format. So especially if you're moving something from like Blender into Maya or kind of any other piece of software, the OBJ is a really safe format to import into Maya. But since we're going from Maya to Maya, just the standard Maya binary should work fine. So I'll just go to Export Selection once I've named it. And now I'm going to go over to my larger scene. And I named that Light Scene 1. And I'll open that. And so I have our larger scene here. Just to make it so I can see things better, I'm going to click this button right here. It's the circle, this gray with the checkerboard side on it. It's use default material. So I'll click on that, and so now we'll just be able to see things a little better. And so now I'm just going to go File, Import. So File, Import, and find that file that we just exported there, and import it into the scene. And we can see here that it's very small, but it showed up right there. And so, oops. If you want to see this folder right here, that's Windows Outliner. And so Windows Outliner, if you want to see this outliner view. And you can see here that the model just showed right up. So this is a really straightforward way, and it kind of the safest way to kind of build up a scene. So if you're working in a large production studio or something like that, and you're creating a game environment or a room for a scene in an animation or something like that, this is the way that they mostly do it here to start things off, because different people will be modeling different things right? And then they're going to export their work, and then someone will import all their work into kind of a larger scene here to bring it all together and light it. So that's the first way to do it. And these two ways are also not mutually exclusive. You can kind of use both techniques here. So option B is the display layers. So I'm just going to delete that out of the way. And so the way display layers works is you can see here I'm in the modeling standard view, and all we have is the modeling toolkit and the attribute editor. If you go up here to the Maya Classic view in terms of the workspace, you'll see that there are now 3 tabs over here. And so we have that same modeling toolkit and attribute editor, but we also have this additional tab that came up. That's the channel box layer editor. So you can click on that. And if that doesn't show up for you under the Maya Classic view, or for whatever reason it's not showing up, that's okay. In order to get this window, you can just go up to Windows, General Editors, and then the second one down, Channel Box Layer Editor. And so going to Windows, General Editors, Channel Box Layer Editor will bring up the same thing here. So we have that here. And so the main thing that concerns us right now is just this bottom window that says Display Animation Layers. So these layers work a lot like Photoshop here. And so we're not going to don't click on the animation tab. We're only worrying about the display tab right now. And so what we'll want to do is we'll just want to select all the objects in the scene. So you can just do it like this in your perspective view and just select like that. Or in your outliner, you can select all your objects like that in your outliner. So select all of your objects in your scene, and then just go to, under the display layers, just go to Layers, Create Layer from Selected. So once we click on that, you'll see not much changed here. But we have this main layer here, and I'm just going to, if I just double click on where it says Layer 1, we can name it. And it's important to name these things, so I'll just name it Main, and press Save. And so right here, this V on the left stands for visibility. So if I just turn it off, all of those layers just get out of our way, which is great. So now we'll be freed up to model our table or our cylinder, what have you here. So now when I click on that, the layers kind of come back. And then if I want to model this, especially if I want to use reference images and use the orthographic view where these things are not showing up in the way, we can just press the V button and pull them out of the way here. And so let's just say that I've worked on this model for a while and it's finished and I'm ready to incorporate it into the rest of the scene. Because before we went to layer, create layer from selected, or we can create an empty layer. Let's just say that I want to add an object that's not in this layer into it. All you need to do is just select the object that you want added, then go over here to the layer and hold your cursor right there where mine is, and then right click and then go add selected objects. And so now when I turn the visibility off, the visibility will go off for everything. And so that's how you add objects into layers here. Additionally, I can just do the same thing to remove the object. So I can remove the object from the selected layer just by selecting it here, and then just right click, remove selected objects, and now it'll be back out of that layer. And so I could just make a layer that's only for the cylinder there. And so by doing that, I could just go do the same thing as we did before, create layer from selected. Then we have this new cylinder layer. Or you could have created an empty, or you could create an empty layer. Excuse that weird window pop up there. So, so there you have it. And so this is a good way. Either of these ways work, and it's just a way to build up your scene, model, and just have your psych and your background and all that stuff not interfere with your work when you're trying to model.